morning and welcome to Yoga and Stories. Today's story will be Jack and the Beanstalk, a fairy tale. But before we get started, we want to run through the poses that we'll be using mostly today. Many of these you will have done before if you've joined us in the past, but some may be new. So we'll go through these. If we don't get all the poses, just follow along during the story, or if you've forgotten them, that's okay. You'll see someone doing these for you. We're going to do all three of the warrior poses today. First, we'll start with warrior one. And with that one, we turn so that we're facing our front foot, and one foot will be out in front of the other. We'll raise our arms above our head and we'll bend the front knee. We'll look upward. We'll use that when Jack's mother's throwing some beans out the window. And when we do on one side, we always turn around and we go to the other side so that we're in balance. So warrior one on the other side, and she'll throw some beans out the window. Warrior two, we'll have our feet wide. We're going to turn to one side, put our arms up at shoulder height. And again, we're going to bend the front knee and look out over that front arm. On the other side then, and with this one sometimes we're going to scan, or in other words, we're going to put our hand up above our eyes and look forward. We're talking about Jack being a brave boy, so this is a good pose to show bravery. Now, warrior three, we're going to use that when we're looking in the goosery for looking under the goose legs. And it's almost like an airplane. You'll just stand on one foot and then on the other foot, and you'll put your arms out wide and try to keep your balance. We'll do house pose where we stand tall, legs apart, arms above our head, and make a triangle like the roof of a house. And then we'll put our arms out straight at our shoulders for star pose. And sometimes we will twinkle our fingers to show magic. We do that one quite a bit in this one. One that we haven't done before but should be very familiar, and you'll probably do in the future, is triangle pose. So again, with the feet spread and the arms at shoulder height, we're going to keep our legs straight in this one and tip over so that the bottom arm touches that leg that we're tilting toward. And then we go to the other side. We'll use triangle when we're talking about a harp today. Now, tree pose is one that we do most every week. We'll just try to get our balance on one foot. We'll put the other foot up against our ankle or our leg or our knee, and then we raise our hands if we're able while standing on that one foot. This is a great one to practice. Sometimes you can do this if you're brushing your teeth, and you can just stand on one foot or doing something else to practice balance. Now in this story today, we have a giant. And so for a giant, we'll just put our legs out wide and kind of bend our knees and hang down over those legs and make big clumpy steps. And then we're also going to do windmill pose, which is just simply arms and legs wide. And we're going to bend down, one arm crossing over to pick up, and then we'll switch and windmill back the other way, and we'll pick things up that way. After we pick things up, we're going to do backpack pose. And with this one, we're going to bend both our elbows, and then we're going to put one arm behind us over our head and the other one behind us, reaching and seeing if you can touch. You may not be able to touch your fingers, but you're trying to get close. And then you go the other way. So Jack puts some things in his backpack so he can carry them home. Another standing pose we're going to do, and I think we've done this one before, is called wood chopper, and this one is fun. You put your hands together over your head, and then you chop down between your legs. And because they're going to be fixing the giant's lunch, you have to have a big chopper to work with. And then also Jack will cut the vine down. Today we also talk about lunges, which would just be wide steps. So sometimes when Jack's looking around, he'll be taking what we call lunging steps. Just take some big steps to stretch out your legs. And then we also have dragon pose today. So you'll come into that idea of the lunge, but you'll come down to the floor with your hands and just put your both hands on the inside of that leg that's got the bent knee on it. You could, if you wanted to, with this dragon pose, do what we call the lion pose, which is one that we use for scary animals, where you stick out your tongue and make a roar too. That's always fun to do. Door pose is one I don't think we've done before. We'll come to our knees. We'll put one leg out straight and keep the other knee bent. Then we'll put one arm, the one that is with the bent leg, up over our head, and we'll lean toward that stretched out leg. So we're opening one door, and then on the other side, we can close the door by tipping that way. Next, we're going to work on cat-cow, so we'll come to our knees, hands and knees. And the cat looks like a Halloween cat, so we arch our back, come up in a kind of like a circle, and then we drop our head down and have a sway back, which is the cow pose. We can go back and forth between those. Today we're also going to do what we call the cat curve, where you'll take your head and look over one shoulder, and then look over the other shoulder, and then we do the cat balance. And cat balance, you'll lift one arm straight out, and then the opposite leg. That will help you to balance. If you get confused, you might fall over if you have both arms and legs on the same side raised. Downward dog we do most every week. So you'll just push up from your toes to come onto kind of a triangle with your hands and your feet. And remember, your heels may not touch the ground, that's okay. Just push back through your hands. And then another new one, another animal pose we have today is frog. So we'll just come to a squat position, looking like a frog. And then finally we have mouse pose. In mouse pose, we make our bodies small, we come down onto our knees, and we tuck our head, and our hands behind our feet or close to our sides. And we use this usually when we're frightened or we're showing ourselves as a little mouse. Okay, and the other poses that we'll be doing, as I say, we'll just tell you and you can walk through them as we go along.
Welcome to Yoga and Stories. How do we start? We sit in easy cross-leg pose and put our hands in front of our hearts. Take a deep breath. Then we say,
Namaste.
Namaste.
What does it mean? It means my heart honors your heart. We say that to remember to be kind to one another. As you listen and do our poses today, make room for everyone and stay safe. If a pose hurts, stop. Yoga should not hurt. It should be healthy. Today we will be reading Jack and the Beanstalk. This is based on the Nosy Crow version available in the Bettendorf Public Library. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Jack who lived with his mother in a tiny little cottage. Now we're going to do the house pose. Stand tall with legs wide and arms in a high triangle. Jack's family was very poor. Jack was a good boy, and he was very brave. We're going to do the Warrior Two pose. Feet wide and arms at shoulder height. Turn your feet to the right and bend the right knee, looking over your extended arm. But Jack didn't always think things through. Now you can do the Warrior Two pose on the other side. One day, Jack's mother asked her son to take their cow to the market. Now we're going to do the cat or cow pose. You get onto your hands and knees, arch and drop your back. We have nothing to eat and no money, she said. We have to sell Daisy. Jack fed Daisy, brushed her, and put a bell around her neck. Now we are going to do the cat curved pose. Still on hands and knees, let's make a curve out of our bodies and look over each shoulder to see how Daisy looks. Then they set off for the market. Now we're going to do the cat balance pose. Stretch out your right arm and left leg. Then you're going to alternate and stretch out your left arm and your right leg. Jack and Daisy had not gone very far before they met a strange-looking man with a suitcase. Now you can sit in cobbler pose and lean forward, stretching out your arms, then lifting them high to open the suitcase. "Hello, young man," said the stranger. "What a lovely cow you've got. If you give her to me, you can have 10 of these magic beans." Now we will get into the star pose. Stand and jump or step your feet and arms wide. Then twinkle your fingers for magic. "How exciting," Jack replied. "I'll take them." Next we will do the windmill pose to pick up the 10 beans. Then we want to put them in our backpack, so we do the backpack pose. And remember to switch sides. But when Jack got home and showed his mother the beans, she was very angry. We're going to do the backpack pose again as Jack gets out the beans. "I can't believe you swapped our only cow for these ridiculous beans," she shouted. "But they're magic beans," Jack cried. Now back into the star pose, arms and legs wide, and move your fingers to twinkle like magic. "They're not magic, you silly boy," said his mom, and she threw the beans out the window. Now we're going to lean forward into the Ragdoll Pose and raise halfway up like we're opening a window. Then we will go to the Warrior One pose. One foot in front of the other, arms stretched above your head, and drop your knee forward. Throw the beans from your hands one way and then switch to the other side. The next morning when Jack woke up, he found an enormous beanstalk in his yard. This is where we will do the tree pose. Balance on one foot and place the other foot against your leg and lift your arms. Jack decided to climb the beanstalk. Now you can do the tree pose, switching to the other foot. Jack climbed higher and higher and higher. Now we can pretend to climb the beanstalk. The beanstalk seemed to go on forever. At last, Jack reached the top of the beanstalk. To his amazement, a long path led to a huge castle in the clouds. Once again, we will do the house pose. Jack walked up to the castle and went inside. We will do the door pose now. From knees, extend one leg to the side and extend other arm above your head, and then stretch over the leg. Then close the door on the other side. Right away, a little mouse ran up to Jack. Now we will get down onto the floor into the mouse pose. You can bend your head down to touch your bent knees. "This is the giant's castle," it said. "He's scary." "I'm not afraid of any giants," said Jack. "I'm going to look around." We'll go back into the Warrior 2 pose, both sides, and scan with a hand above the eyes. The first room Jack found was the kitchen, where a cook was making soup. "Please, can you help me make the giant's lunch?" she asked. Jack chopped the vegetables and stirred the ingredients. We are going to do the wood chopper pose now, standing with feet wide. Raise your hands above your head, clasped together, and bend forward to chop. Soon the soup smelled delicious. Now sit in an easy cross-leg position and lift your leg in your hand to stir the soup. Stir on both sides. "Oh, thank you," said the cook. "Because you've helped me, I'll tell you where the giant keeps his stolen gold." So Jack followed the cook's directions to the giant's counting house. This is when we will go back to the house pose. This is where the giant was having his morning nap. "Whatever you do," said the mouse, "don't wake the giant." Jack carefully lifted the giant's hands and took some coins. Once again, we will do the windmill pose to pick up the coins. Then he stuffed them into his bag. Once again, do the backpack pose, and remember to do both sides. Then Jack crept out of the room. We are going to do some basic lunges forward, like we're creeping out of the room. Jack kept exploring. Soon he found a room where a frog sat by a well. Now we are going to do the frog pose. You can get down on all fours in the position that looks like a frog. "Please, can you help me?" said the frog. "The giant stole my golden ball and threw it down this well." Jack lowered the bucket into the well, scooped up the ball, and brought the bucket up again. Now we're going to stand tall and bring our hands to the floor, and then back up above our heads. The frog hopped for joy. So now you can get back into the frog pose and hop. "Oh, thank you," said the frog. "Because you've helped me, I'll tell you where the giant keeps his stolen magic goose." So Jack went to the goosery. Now we are going to do some lunges forward. This is where the giant was sleeping after his lunch. "One of these geese lays golden eggs," said the mouse. "Can you find it without waking the giant?" Now we can do what is called the Warrior 3 pose, or in this case, the goose pose, Standing with one leg behind the other and arms wide like an airplane, lift the back leg and balance on the front. And you want to alternate and do the other leg as well. Jack lifted each goose until he found a golden egg. He tucked the egg and the goose into his bag, then crept out of the room. We're going to do the backpack pose once again on both sides. And again, some basic lunges like we're creeping out of the room. Underneath the castle, Jack found the dungeon. Now we're going to do the downward facing dog position. The dungeon is where a baby dragon was locked in a cell. "Please, can you help me?" said the dragon. Now we'll do the dragon pose. Lunge from one knee with both hands on the side of that front knee. "I'm just a baby and I want to go home to my mom." Now we can do the dragon pose on the other side. Jack took the big iron key off its hook on the wall, turned it in the lock, and freed the baby dragon. Once again, we'll do the door pose on both sides to open and close the door. "Oh, thank you," said the dragon. "Because you've helped me, I'll tell you where the giant keeps his stolen golden harp." Now we will do the triangle pose to look like a harp. And remember to do this pose on both sides. So Jack made his way to the music room where the giant was having yet another nap. "Please, can you help me?" said the little golden harp. Once again, we will do the triangle or harp pose. "I want to escape from the giant. He's so mean." Jack picked up the harp, but it suddenly started to shout. "I tricked you," it screeched. "I'm going to call my master now. Master Giant, wakey, wakey, this boy Jack is trying to take me." The giant woke up and glared at him. Now we will do the giant pose. Make yourself appear as big as you can. "Fee, fi, fo, fum," he boomed. "I can smell you. Here I come." The giant chased Jack through the castle. So now you can run in place. And then pretend to be the giant chasing Jack. "You may think that you're a winner, but I'll eat you up for dinner," shouted the giant. The giant chased Jack down the beanstalk. We'll do the tree pose again, making sure to switch to the other side. "You can try to run away, but I'll eat you up today," the giant yelled. When Jack reached the ground, he grabbed an axe and chopped the beanstalk down. Once again, we will do the woodchopper pose. It toppled over with a loud crash. Now, as we're standing up, we're going to fall down or collapse into the mouse pose. The giant was never seen or heard from again. And as for Jack and his mother, they both lived happily ever after. At the end of our story, we lie down and relax to give our bodies and minds a break. So lie back and close your eyes. Relax your arms and legs, your fingers and toes. Wiggle your shoulders and let them sink into the floor. Think about the story. Some of it was funny and silly. But have you ever planted beans? It almost seems like magic when they begin to grow in your garden. Maybe you can try that sometime. Now take a few deep breaths. Then start to slowly wiggle your fingers and your toes, arms and legs. Slowly roll onto your side and come back to a sitting position. We end the same way we begin, by saying,
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you for coming.
See you next time.